Hey duelists, it's Casual. I'm back at you guys with another Spooktober deck, and no Spooktober would be complete without the king of dooting himself, the Skull Servant. Really cool deck. Gonna be doing a nice casual build here today. And if you notice, these are the original Legend of Blue Eyes. These cards are 18 years old today. It's just a nice fun deck. Real quick before we go through the deck list and everything, if you guys have been enjoying the content, if this has been helpful in any way, please consider hitting the subscribe button, but enough of that. So my deck list today, again, Casual and Skull Servants. We're going to be running 3 copies of King of the Skull Servant. We're going to be running 3 copies of Mizuki, 1 Shiranui Solitaire, 3 of the OG Beast himself, Skull Servant, 2 copies of Lady in White, 3 copies of Unizombie, 3 copies of White Mare, 3 copies of White Prince, and 3 copies of the White Princess. Going to our spells, we're going to have 1, 2, 3 Allures of Darkness, 2 Books of Life, 1 Foolish Burial, 1 Monster Reborn, a single 1-for-1. We're going to be using the Silent Graveyard for our hand trap disposal. We're going to run 2 copies of Unexpected Die and 3 copies of Where Arf Thou. And real quick, we'll go over to the extra deck. I'm going to be running a couple synchros in here because, again, we do have a tuner. So we're going to have the Crystal Wing Synchro as well as the Red Eyes Zombie Necro. For our overlays, we're going to be using Dante, Traveler of the Burning Abyss with Leviair the Sky Dragon, or Sea Dragon. Holy crud. I saw the Wind attribute, and I just read that entirely wrong. And for our link plays, which is going to make up the majority of our extra deck, we're going to run Borload, Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn, Link Karibo and Relinquished Anima, Saryuja Skulldread, Underclock Taker, Vampire Sucker, Wee Witch's Apprentice, and one of my new personal favorites, Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Mayakashi. If you guys were just here for the deck list, you guys are dismissed. If you guys are here for some of the tech, we're going to get through this as quick as possible today. So King of the Skull Servants shouldn't need much of an introduction. What he's going to do for you is the original attack is going to become 1,000 times the number of King of Skull Servants and Skull Servants in the graveyard. And if he's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can remove from play one other King of the Skull Servants or Skull Servant named card in the graveyard to special summon it back. Now that's going to drop his attack power overall by 1,000, but we have ways to counter that and to fuel the discard pile, so not a big deal. Mizuki is just here as like an extender. You banish it in the graveyard, target another zombie back, bring it back. So again, we can do this for free to bring back the king anytime we want. We're running the 1 Shiranui Solitaire just to increase our chances for getting Unizombie for its discarding effects. Again, Skull Servant for his name. And most of the rest of these cards, except the Unizombie, will actually count themselves as Skull Servant when they're in the discard pile. So this is going to lead to just amazing levels of attack points by the end of this. So the Lady in White, I ran her at 2. It's sort of a protection effect. I know I could have probably run Vampire Fraulein in here somewhere, but this is a casual build, so I'm trying to keep it super budget. So what this is going to do for you is face up level 3 or lower zombie monsters you control except for itself cannot be destroyed by battle and are unaffected by the effects of spells and traps. So nice little generic thing there. Unizombie is our only tuner. And by targeting a face-up monster on the field and discarding a card, you can increase that target's level by 1. Or you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. Monsters you control cannot attack for the rest of the turn except zombie monsters. Also, send 1 zombie monster from the deck to the graveyard. And if you do, increase the target's level by 1 again. And you can do both of these effects every turn, but only once per turn per effect. So stacking multiple zombies isn't going to help you. And just really lets us get into some of the extra deck plays while fueling our King of the Skull Servants. Additionally, we're going to be playing White Mare here. So while this is in the graveyard, obviously, I already said that it's going to be Skull Servant, and when it's in the hand, you can discard this card to activate one of the following effects. So you can either select or remove from play Skull Servant or White Mare and return it to the graveyard, which could have been fuel for having brought back the King of the Skull Servants, or in about a minute, the Allure of Darkness spell card. Or you can select one of your remove from play Lady in White or King of the Skull Servants and actually special summon it. So if you did end up having two of these in the discard pile, you can banish one, discard this, bring it back. This is going to count. You're going to have the same power level. You're going to have two characters at that. So obviously, the more discards that you've had throughout the game, the better that effect is going to keep getting for you. White Prince is going to say, if this is sent to the graveyard, you can send a Skull Servant and a Lady in White from your hand and or deck to the graveyard. You can banish 2 Skull Servants plus this card to special summon 1 King of the Skull Servants from your deck. And what's amazing is while we're increasing the level of something through Unizombie, we can go ahead, ditch the White Prince, ditch another 2. That's already 3 cards ditched for the King of the Skull Servants. That's already an additional 3,000 power to whatever it may already be at. So just a fantastic synergy with these guys. White Princess here. If it is normal or special summons, you can send White Prince from the deck to the graveyard. Again, allowing you to get those 2 other names gone. During either player's turn, you can send this from the hand or field to the graveyard, and all monsters on the field currently lose attack and defense equal to their level or rank times 300 until the end of the turn. And what's really neat about this is since it's modifying stats, you can drop this in the damage step when normal cards like, let's just say Enemy Controller, Windstorm of Itaqua, or some other nonsense wouldn't be allowed to happen. So you can press for game with this attack, you can defend yourself with this attack, and it looks amazing with King of the Skull Servants around. Going to the spells, we got the Allures of Darkness because we just need the draw power. Book of Life is another generic extender play by allowing us to banish one of our opponent's monsters and reborning one of our zombies. Foolish Burial lets us send a monster card from the deck straight to the graveyard, so we can, again, ignite the Prince's effect, get 3 names in the graveyard. Or we can throw a Mizuki if we need an extension to summon. There is a lot of play for this card. Monster Reborn, simple extender, 1 for 1, allows you to special summon one of your 1-stars by sending a monster from your hand, which is an immediate 1,000 for a King of the Skull Servants. Silent Graveyard, just going ahead and negating all effects that are going to happen in graveyard for an entire turn, and this will help you take care of those hand traps, and depending on what your opponent's playing, it may do more. We got the Unexpected Die, which is actually very cool. I've been playing around with this card a lot more lately. And what this is going to do is allow you to play Skull Servant at the beginning of your plays, which helps you with your link builds. And of course your synchro plays later on, or your overlay plays. And I'll explain those here in a second. And it also pairs off great with our last spell, Where Art Thou? So if you control a level 1 monster, you can add a level 1 monster from the deck to the hand, and then during the end phase of the turn, take 2k damage if you didn't normal summon the added card or a card with the same name. And why that's important is because we can immediately just play the Unexpected Die, grab your Skull Servant, put him on the board, play your Where Art Thou, go into any one of your other ones. And again, if you have something that's going to set up a discard for you, this could be, you could just grab the White Mare if you needed it for an effect, and then maybe you're going to take the burn damage. Or you can get the Prince, especially if you can board him or do something with that. You might summon it additionally, and then go into a link play, and that still counts as you having normal summoned, so you don't take your banishment. You'll still get to send the cards because he was sent to the graveyard. And the best part about that effect is it doesn't say where he has to be sent from the graveyard. So, going over to our extra deck real quick, we have the Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon and the Red Eye Zombie Dragon, and I think these are important to talk about in a pair. With this deck, we're able to use Unizombie's effect up to twice per turn. It doesn't lock us into a lot of zombie plays like some other cards would have. It just says only zombies can attack during that turn. So we can develop up to a 9-star actually because there are some 4 stars, and Unizombie can do a level modulation twice, being a 3, that's 9. So we can go into the Crystal Wing and then use his like hand trap damaging effect here once per turn when another monster's effect is activated. As a quick effect, negate the activation, destroy the card, and if you do, this card gains attack equal to the destroyed monster's original attack until the end of the turn. It won't be a whole lot of buff, but it may be enough to let you play through something. And then his additional effect is against higher level monster cards. So if it battles an opponent's level 5 or higher during the damage calculation, gain attack equal to the current level of attack that monster has while battling during the damage calculation only. So again, he can help you overpower some of the larger cards in like a Monarch deck or regular zombies or, whatever. And the Necro Dragon gains 100 AD for every zombie on the field and in the graveyards. Much better in a zombie world build, I'll admit. But the next effect is what's pretty amazing. So when another zombie is destroyed by battle, you can special summon a zombie from either graveyard to your field. So even if one of your zombies dies defensively, or you run a smaller zombie against something that's still kind of small, you could still bring back like a King of the Skull Servants and keep pushing for game. It doesn't have to be during the opponent's turn, doesn't have to be during your turn, just has to be destroyed by battle. For our overlays, and again, if we modulate a 1-star twice with the Unizombie, we can rank 3 real quick. So Dante is a great choice because once per turn, his effect is detach material, choose a number 1 to 3, send that many cards from the top of the deck to the graveyard. He gains 500 per card sent. If this card attacks, it is changed to defense position at the end of the battle phase, which lets you set up with a great 2,500 defense. But at the same time, again, Unizombie is probably going to be pairing off with one of the Skull Servant names. So we can send that name. And again, I believe the Prince was just a 1-star. So we can send him. And since he's being sent to the graveyard and it didn't say from hand, deck, field, or as an overlay unit, we can still benefit by pushing extra names in the graveyard. Plus, we're going to get that 3-card mill, and that's potentially a lot of attack points for your King of the Skull Servants. Now, Levier is a little different, and it's going to base off of the King of the Skull Servants removal effect. And when you pitch his materials, once per turn, you can detach an Xyz material, target a banished level 4 or lower monster to special summon back to your side. And again, if you did this with banished King of the Skull Servants and you sent Prince off of it, it's going to come back with at least 3,000 points, regardless of whatever else was already in the discard pile. So these two are pretty unique. I'm not sure if anybody's really playing this style, and it might be easier to modify this to competitive because these guys do exist. Let me know down in the comments section. As far as the rest of our deck, it's all going to be links. So we got Borreload for the obvious reasons. Cerberus for being able to destroy special summon monsters in the main zones on your opponent's side. Phoenix for the spell traps. Unicorn to seal one of those cards into the deck. Link Karibo is amazing here because of his recurrence effects and the fact that he just needs level 1s. And this deck is chock full. Another great play is Relinquished Anima, and one of the reasons that this is a little more tricky is you do have to suck up whatever he's pointing to. So you do want to play him to a zone where you're going to have a target, and you're usually going to use it to link build. Usually I end up going to the Link Karibo. Not going to lie to you. But on occasion, this has saved me in a match, and so I left him in. Saryuja is a great one. I'm really looking at how easily we could put the different names here. So based on the amount of different names, he gains different effects. So if you have at least 2 different names to put them together, any monster, normal, or special summon to a zone he's pointing to gains 300. Once per turn during the main phase, if you use 3, you can special summon 1 from the hand. And if you used 4 different names to put them together, you're going to get all 3 effects, and you're going to get the effect that when he is link summoned, you get to draw 4 and then place 3 cards from your hand at the bottom of your deck in any order. And mid-game, early game, this could matter a lot because this will let you set up your hand the way you want it to be. And also, he just looks really cool, so whatever. Underclock Taker is another one of these little surprise cards that I just wasn't expecting to play in this deck. But his synergy with King of the Skull Servants is undeniable. So any 2 effect monsters to make him once per turn, target a face-up monster this card points to. That'll be your king. And 1 face-up monster the opponent controls, and the opponent's monster is going to lose attack equal to the attack that this card points to. Now, because it doesn't say original attack, the modified values of the king will essentially make your attack look like a direct attack while taking a card off your opponent's side of the field, and I just couldn't play this deck without this card. It was too much fun. We did put Vampire Sucker in here. It did help out a little bit with the Red Eyes Zombie Necro. And the effect is, because you can target one opponent's monster in their graveyard, special summon it back to their side in defense, but it becomes a zombie. So offensively, we were able to destroy zombies and then resurrect our own characters. So I was able to trade out just weaker cards that had little to no effect on the game at that point, and let King, or usually the Red Eyes Zombie Necro, smash into it, and I would get back a second King at a crazy 5,000 stat, and by that point it's already game. But the real part here is that if a zombie monster gets special summoned back once per turn, you're going to get to draw 1 card. So fantastic. Last 2, we got Wee Witch, because this deck is predominantly dark. There's only a couple light types, and I think that's just Princess, maybe. And I knew Mizuki's obviously an Earth, but for the most part, this is just another way to get some shameless power gain for your King of the Skull Servants. And if this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can actually target a dark monster in your graveyard and add it back to your hand. And again, being able to recycle King of the Skull Servants was king here. And I wouldn't have won as many times as I did if I hadn't done that. And then just real quick, I don't think any zombie deck is really perfect without this anymore. Ever since I really got a good read on it when I was building the Mayakashi Mill, I wanted to start adding this more often as a nice Link 4 boss monster for my zombie decks. So any 2+ zombies, obviously you got to get to the 4 rank. You can only control 1 of these, negate any activated effect of your opponent's banished monsters. And if a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, you can target one other face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects. You can use this effect up to twice per turn. So dissect that again real quick. If the effect is activated, target a face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and then negate the effect of the card that you started with. So we can negate twice per turn, and it doesn't say I have to zero out my own monsters. You can feel free to zero out your opponent's cards when they have cards on board. Oops, sorry about that. And what that's going to let you do, again, with King of the Skull Servants around, these are going to look like direct attacks, and it's going to help you play a little more aggressively. I know that to build this deck was a lot of fun. Playing this deck was even more so. And I'd like to thank my buddy Steve for lending me some cards here, because Skull Servants was just not something I had a lot of. And I was just really, really grateful that he let me have the chance to not only profile this deck, but to mess around with his stuff there for a little bit. We're getting to about that 20-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and call it. You guys have a great day. I'm going to see you guys on the next video. Later.